Welcome. I'm Stephanie Townsend Allala, attorney at law, along with Mario Gonzalez, attorney at law, talking about the El Paso professional bondsman's position on the upcoming changes to El Paso's PR bond office. Mario, you've been studying this, and we to date have no evidence that there is any real changes here, and you have some real concerns about actually hidden costs that are we're actually going to raise costs instead of lower them.
Right. Well, the public press, the agenda going forward from Commissioner Pettis is suggesting that if he makes these changes, there's going to be a cost savings to the taxpayers. And that is the message that's coming from his office. But that message is flawed, and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. What it does do is increases costs to the taxpayer of this county. It affects the safety of everybody who lives here. And at the same time, it also creates a situation that is going to create an opportunity for increasing government and government expense in the criminal justice system.
A lot of people don't know what it means. Talk about what a PR bond is and how it works.
Well, a personal recognizance bond is basically a bond that a judge sets and then tells the defendant, the accused, look, you don't actually have to pay the bond. I'm going to let you out. You're going to sign for it. Now, if you don't show up, you're going to have to pay it, the whole thing. In the meantime, I'm letting you out for free. And I might even put some conditions. And the conditions are going to be X, Y, and Z. And therein lies the problem. When people get arrested for committing a criminal act, they get arrested and then they get let out immediately without any real consequence. It's like having a get out of jail free card in Monopoly, right? You don't really impress the importance and the seriousness of what's going on. But nonetheless, Commissioner Pettis, thinking he'll save money, wants to drastically increase the use of PR bonds. Now, that is not his call. That is a call that the judges have to make. But Mr. Pettis thinks that it's Commissioner's court duty to tell elected judges how to run the courts and, by the way, to get on board and give out more PR bonds.
Well, it's a good idea. We do want to get nonviolent low-level criminals out of the jail, don't we?
Well, we would like to do that, but we have to understand that moving somebody in and out of jail quickly does not save us money. If the idea is that we're going to save money, you have to understand what the fixed costs are. A jail is going to operate, but it's going to need the lights on. It's going to need to be staffed. It's going to need to have all its utilities. Now, what happens is, if you have 10 people in the jail, you still have to fully staff it and fully run it.
Whether there's 10 people or 100 people.
That's exactly right. So the suggestion that he makes publicly that it's costing us $60 or $100 a day to keep somebody in jail, and that magically you're going to save the money.
That's not true unless you actually shut down a portion of the jail, and that's not part of the proposal.
That's absolutely not part of the proposal, and that's why it's a fallacy. It's a straw man to suggest that if they move people out of jail, you're going to save money. It's just not true. I mean, unless you get rid of the fixed cost, it's never going to happen.
Let's talk about the public safety issue that Commissioner Vince Perez has not yet addressed.
Well,
and we found that there were rapists who were getting out on PR bonds. That was not meant for the violent crime.
No.
This is not the way that the El Paso Bond Office is supposed to operate.
There's manslaughter charges. When we asked for the documents to see what kind of offenses had received a PR bond, we saw the whole gamut, from a misdemeanor to first-degree felonies, manslaughter, sexual assault of a child charges, indecency of a child.
I do not want somebody who's been charged with a manslaughter to get out of jail for free. That just doesn't seem like a good public policy.
Well, it isn't. And, I don't know how we can be safe in this community if the idea is to empty out the prisons, or the jail here. Texas, in the 80s, if you'll recall, decided to empty out the prisons because they were overcrowded. And so what they did is they put a lot of violent offenders back out on the streets to the great danger of its citizens. Eventually, Texas doubled its prison space to try to get us back to where we were a little more safe. Now, I'm not suggesting that we could keep building jails here in El Paso. That's not the suggestion, but the suggestion is that people who are getting out on a PR bond ought to be the nonviolent offenders, low-level, first-time arrestees. Those are the people who should be getting something like that.
And the program that Vince Pettis support allows people charged with manslaughter, rape, other violent crimes to get out.
That's the reality of what's going on now. And what Vincent Pettis has done, and I have an email of his from August 20th of last year, and he was asking why we couldn't increase PR bonds. Apparently, the email talks about a 3% PR bond release, and he wants to increase that to 20%. So where are you going to get your 20%?
And in addition, isn't the county, why would they be in the business of being bondsmen?
Well, they ought not to be. And here's the irony of it all. With the PR bonds that are out there now on the books, remember, if you don't show up, you have to pay it. Well, nobody pays it. Right now, we have PR bond forfeiture judgments of over $9 million against these people with PR bonds who didn't go to court. And to date, not one dime of those over $9 million have been collected.
Now, on the opposite end of that, over the last decade, the El Paso Bondsman Association has paid over $10 million to the county for these bonds. Is that
sure? If you're a professional bondsman, if you're a surety in this county, if somebody doesn't show up and you get a judgment taken against you, one of the things you have to understand is that they will take the judgment, and once you have a judgment, you have 30 days to pay it. If you don't pay it, you're disqualified from engaging in further business. In other words, it all stops.
So 100% of the professional bonds are paid to the county?
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're out of business.
And 100% of the PR bonds are never paid to the county?
That is correct.
That seems like it would be a mistake to go forward just based on the finances here. Let's also talk about the issues with this related to the way that people go through the system. We're actually creating debtors' prisons by adding debt to people. You had talked about a client one time, he told me, who went through the system, was never actually convicted, and still owed nearly $5,000.
Well, what happens is, once you get on these PR bond, then somebody wants to collect money from someplace, and they assess fees, and they'll say, we need a supervising fee. We need now there's some fees that are authorized in the code, a criminal procedure. For example, if you have an intox machine, an intoxilizer machine in your car, you get to pay that, but you pay that to the vendor who put the machine in your car. It doesn't go to the county. There's no money to be made.
Right, but if the county is my bail bondsman, and if I don't show up, then the county just automatically puts you in jail.
That's right. They have no way of collecting this money.
Unless you pick somebody up on the street, maybe somebody's picked up for another crime.
That's exactly right. And they don't actively go look for you. They just wait till they catch you by accident.
And then just make you sit in jail.
Correct.
So that adds to the jail
by
population.
Far. When people are let out on a PR bond and then they get arrested, they'll frequently find that one, either they don't have a bond, or if they have a bond, it's so high you can't possibly make it. And so you sit weeks and months sometimes before anything happens. So this idea that we want to fast track people through the jail and get them out on a PR bond, to me is silly, because you have never even studied the implications of what happens when the bond goes bad, the cost to society, first of all, to apprehend you, and the second cost of keeping you in once you do come back.
Sounds like it's just another opportunity to create more costs to the citizens.
Well, that's all it is. I mean, at the end of the day, Commissioner Pettis wanted to have some 52 positions, I think it was, assigned to this new program of his.
52 new employees to save money.
Well,
Doesn't
this is
sound like it's saving money.
No, it's not at all. And what he's saying is, no, they're not new. We're just getting them reassigned from the district clerk, the county clerk, the jail, the magistrate, you name it, he wants them. But the fact of the matter is, if you're removing employees from other offices, these are employees that are needed. Mm-hmm. If you remove them to create his little pretrial services office and PR bond department, eventually you're going to fill those positions back up for those particular offices.
This is such an important public issue and topic. How difficult has it been for you to get the word out?
Well, it's interesting. It seems that the media is more interested in just following along with whatever Mr. Pettis wants, and
it's easier for reporters to just rewrite and regurgitate a news release than to go out and ask the tough questions.
Well, that's for sure. And it's not news. I mean, nobody's asked, what are the costs? Nobody's asked, what studies have you done? Well, we have. Through the Public Information Act, we have asked for and received countless documents. But what we found that was appalling is, even while the system had started, this whole movement to create this new super government agency of the county, let's call it, there was, even while that was going on, There was no studies. There's no empirical evidence to suggest that there's going to be a cost savings. And nobody had even asked a question about public safety.
Well, Mario Gonzalez, thank you so much for coming in today. We will continue this conversation. I want to ask you, what do you want to tell people right now as we close out here? What would you like to tell the citizens who are watching?
Well, I would like the citizens to come out and call the commissioner and say, look, you cannot do this. You're endangering us. You're creating a huge tax burden on us. And if you're going to do something, do it after you have the empirical evidence. Don't just move forward on a wish and a prayer, because that never works out. And when you're talking about the public trust, that is the number one thing that they have to worry about. And we elect them for that. So you call your commissioner and you say, if you're going to do something, make sure you're taking care of me and my family.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much, Mario Gonzalez, and thank you for watching. We'll be back next time. Thanks.